This is the beginning of a new conversation with my Jehovah's Witness friend. I had asked her previously if she would be willing to tell me about the Watchtower organization. At this point, I still had a fair amount to learn about the org, so I thought it would be interesting to see what she had to say about it. I knew it would not be a full, accurate picture, because she wanted to give me a positive spin and ignore all the problems with things like failed prophecies, ever-changing teachings, scandals, schisms, that sort of thing. It's interesting to me how witnesses love to try and paint Russell and his Adventist friends as being the only ones in the world who were really studying the scriptures, and all the Christians in the world were just blindly following whatever they were told in their churches, no matter what. It really shows a total lack of knowledge of actual church history. It's also extremely prideful because it suggests that everyone before Russell was basically too simple or too stupid to understand the Bible. And it's quite fascinating how they do this while at the same time rejecting many, if not most, of his original teachings.
Hello.
Hi, it's Janice calling.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm not bad at all.
Good, did I catch you at a good time?
Yeah, that's perfectly good, Doc.
Okay, great. Yeah, I got your call the other day. Just wanted to give you a quick call back and see how you're doing.
Well, that was nice of you to think about me then.
Oh,
Appreciate that.
Oh, I always think about you. I think about you every day. Yeah, so I wondered, I don't know if you want to just, catch up and chat or if you wanted to get into a little bit of our discussion we were thinking about.
As your energy lasts.
Okay, yeah. So I guess we talked about maybe talking, if you could tell me a little bit about, the Watchtower and what it means to you and a little bit about what you know about it and its history and
About the organization, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm never sure what the right terms are to use. Like, I know there's governing body, and then there's Watchtower, and then if the organization just sort of means all of that.
The Watchtower Society, of course, is, you need an entity if you're going to be organized. The government requires that. You have to have a charter.
Sure, yeah.
So as the legal entity is the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And it used to be called. I pick up lots of old books when I'm at the used book sales and whatever, and I have like some old Mormon ones and different religions, and I have some old Watchtower books too, and they say Zion's Watchtower. So that's what it used to be called?
It was, the magazine was called that.
Okay.
But it was still organized legally as the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society.
Okay. And do you know why they would say Zion's Watchtower? Is that just like a buzzword?
Well, of course, they were using the older renditions of the Bible, like of course the King James and the Dewey versions and those Bibles. So Zion was referred to a lot in, the people knew Zion as being Israel,
Mm-hmm.
the people that they were talking to, that weren't witnesses.
Okay.
So it was an easy way for the general public to know what witnesses were talking about.
Okay. So it's sort of they're sort of relating themselves to Israel.
Well, it was to identify Israel, the Israelites, and Jerusalem as Zion, because Zion was Jerusalem.
Okay.
Zion was originally called Jerusalem, so
Yeah.
When the Babylonians captured the Israelites and took them to Babylon, and then of course when they were in captivity at Lamentations, there it talks about in poetic verse about how the Babylonians would ask them to sing songs about Zion.
Oh, I see. Okay. So
which was referred to Jerusalem, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, because they were captives from Jerusalem.
Okay. So then it's like saying they're Jerusalem's watchtower. Would that be kind of like, I'm just trying to understand how that works?
Well, it was trying to identify and associate Israelites with Zion or Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
That Zion was Jerusalem, not not another city or not another place.
Okay.
Because Zion was mentioned in the Bible. So then, if somebody who didn't know, well, then they wouldn't associate it with Jerusalem. They would say, well, what is this? What is this place, Zion? You know.
Okay. I think I kind of understand. So
it's just a way of association.
Okay, so
getting the general public to realize Zion, Jerusalem, same thing.
Okay, so they were, yeah. Okay, I understand that. There's that connection between those two words. I'm just trying to figure out how that relates to the Watchtower, because they called themselves Zion's Watchtower. Sorry, I'm picking at this, but it's really confusing to me. Like why they called themselves Zion's Watchtower as opposed to just.
Well, it was just a title that they used,
okay.
You know, for the magazine.
Yeah. And the book.
It has no special connotations. No.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
They were called Bible students at that time.
Okay, yeah, I heard that. Yeah. Okay. And what else? Like I have lots of questions. So I'm trying not get out of my own way here.
I hope I answered that question for you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. No, the last part you said that it's it's just like just a term that they chose to use kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because they weren't Bible. They were Bible students. The general public didn't associate them with Zion at all.
No.
You know.
Okay. So what do you know about its history? Like I love, like, as you know, I love to read. I love old books and I love history. And what do you know about like the Watchtower's history?
Well, the Bible students, as they were called, met in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. They started. Brother Russell started a Bible study group, and he invited like-minded people who were interested in the Bible, mm-hmm. and said, let's study the Bible and get to understand what the Bible really means. So they would have Bible discussions, and then they would cross-reference scriptures to get an answer that was in an agreement. That was in agreement.
Okay.
Because somebody would come up with an idea and say, well, what about that? Well, then, okay, let's research it.
Right. So
then you get the answers by cross-referencing scriptures. Mm-hmm. And they would come up with conclusions. Okay. So then they went to Brother Russell, and he went to some of the local churches, and because they were finding out truths in the Bible that were surprising, like that there was no hellfire, that the soul isn't immortal, and that everybody doesn't go to heaven, and all these things like that.
Okay.
And God doesn't take babies, or doesn't take anybody in death. It doesn't punish anybody, and there's no hellfire because in Deuteronomy, Jehovah said that he doesn't even bring that up in his heart when the Canaanites were doing it.
Okay.
So all these things they realized were false teachings. So they went to some of the churches and they were trying to show them that. And they wanted to say, well, if you believe that, well, then we're going to join your church. We'll be in agreement.
So there was,
but nobody, nobody would, go that route. They still believed, all the churches believed, no matter what they were, Catholic, Presbyterian, Protestant, United, whatever, they still wanted to believe what they wanted to believe. So then these different individuals then resigned from those different churches and formed a group.
Okay.
An interesting point to note here is that what she is describing about Charles Taze Russell and his Adventist friends is formally called apostasy. They formed their own little group and decided to interpret the scriptures in a way that they liked, contrary to Orthodox historic Christianity. They tried to spread their teachings and false predictions through the churches, but were ultimately rejected. What they were doing was apostatizing from the historic church. In fact, the Watchtower's early literature itself even shows us that Russell simply didn't like the teachings he was hearing from the Presbyterian church in which he was raised. So he decided to come up with his own instead. I mention this because JWs are taught to label anyone who leaves the org as an apostate, in the most derogatory sense, complete with shunning gossip and slander. And all the while, they actually belong to an apostate group themselves. The Watchtower sometimes says that Jehovah has always had an organization on earth. If that was true, why did Russell have to go off and start his own instead of just joining the one that supposedly already existed?
Now, I understood, and tell me if this is what your understanding is too, because I read a little bit that that Brother Russell was, that at least some of the people he was studying with were Seventh-day Adventists?
Some of them were Seventh-day Adventists, some of them were Mormons, some of them were Catholics.
Okay.
Different denominations, Methodists.
Interesting. Okay, can you, I don't know, is any of that on jw.org?
Is any of that on?
Yeah, is there anything, because I find that fascinating. I never heard that he studied with Mormons before or Catholics or anything. Is there any place you could point me to that, or if you need to look it up or whatever first, then I would love to read more about that.
Over the course of our conversations, she has stated several times that Russell studied with Mormons. I haven't found any evidence of that in their literature or in any other literature either. So I'm not sure why she said it so many times. I get that she was trying to paint a picture of these people with a diversity of beliefs coming together under his teaching, and certainly the Adventist Millerites that he was studying with probably did come from diverse backgrounds before becoming Adventists. And definitely the Millerite Adventist movement was inspired by the successes and excitement of Mormonism, an earlier restorationist group that started before them. But were there Mormons, Catholics, Methodists, etc. in his little group in those early days? Or was she just making it up?
Well, I haven't even researched that on the website.
Okay.
But over the years, these are things I learned secondhand,
Yeah, okay.
But I haven't researched it. I don't research it because that doesn't really identify me as a witness. The Bible truths identify me as a Jehovah's Witness.
I understand. I just was curious because I haven't heard that, and I just would really, if there was more information about that, I would love to know.
All I know is that they were different religions.
Yeah. Okay.
And as some people say, they were Methodist, they were Presbyterian.
Okay. So there wasn't. If
I remember correctly, I think Charles Russell was Presbyterian, was in the Presbyterian church, his family.
Yeah, I think I read that too. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
But then that's when he was questioning his faith, so then he talked to other people of faith. And he, in Pittsburgh, then he went to different churches and wanted to, say, well, look, this is Bible truth. Do you agree with this? And well, that'll be the criteria, but nobody wanted to accept that criteria.
Okay, so at that point he didn't have there was no organization for him to be involved in or submitting to, so he was on his own doing Bible study with the people.
And of course, you see, the reason they called them Bible students was because as soon as he started learning those truths, he started going from door to door and talking to people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So then those people that went from door to door, they were known as Bible students. Okay. Even before they were organized.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
More accurately, they called themselves Bible students. The people to whom they were trying to sell their books and magazines, and yes, I do mean sell, they charged money for their materials in those days, generally viewed them as akin to door-to-door salesmen and eventually more as a doomsday cult. We'll stop here for today. Next time, we'll start talking about Joseph Rutherford.